Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about the best of both worlds. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, to get the best of both worlds, why don't developers maintain both a readable code base and a heavily optimized one? Well, it's sort of like it's like asking why don't we solve world hunger at the same time, and at the same time let's solve world peace, because doing just one or the other is probably going to be enough to keep you sort of occupied. Doing both is well, you can approach both problems, that it's more complicated than doing both. Having a heavily optimized and at the same time readable thing is like trying to go left and right at the same time. What happens is that you always try to optimize things, and it always is difficult to do that in an efficient way. You always try to make everything readable, but it's also very difficult to make that happen. It's the fundamental problem with it's the fundamental problem of having a person solve any problem. As my little example with world peace and world hunger, guys, these are problems that can be solved. It's just that if you want to solve them, you need to have the circumstances to do so. It's the same thing with your software development. If you give I've seen this 100 times before, guys. So when someone tells you that they can't solve a problem or so forth, it's usually the case that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It means that they are not able to solve that problem. And so telling a developer that you should make readable code and optimize code at the same time is like saying to them, just do a good job, because all developers are at all times trying to solve those problems. It's just that when they fail, it has more to do with the fact that either they are not able to solve this problem, or the person who is evaluating how their results look is either better, worse, like their opinion about what is readable code and what is heavily optimized code might differ. It's I'm not sure how I should put this. It's like just saying that we should make better systems than we can today. Currently, this is like everybody's always trying to do their best, but we're simply not as far ahead as we would like to be, in order to, like, it's a moving target all the time. So to give you an example of this, I could try to I actually had that conversation today with my coworker. So he reached out to me. He's been working with me for a while now, and the thing that I like about him is that he sort of understood that the difference between going from one product to another can be found in many places, where in like you may have said this to you guys before. In one product, you're going to be the best software developer in the room, and in other products, you're not going to be the best software developer in the room. And one of the things that is sort of important in order to make yourself humble is to understand when there's something to be learned, and like when is the time to listen and when is the time to have ideas and sort of like push things and push your own thoughts forward, right? And so the project that he has worked with me on is a little bit special. In this case, this guy is a front-end developer, and he reached out to me because he was working on some unit tests, and he said that he's having problems structuring his unit tests. And I go, that's not uncommon, because it's actually very for most software developers, especially front-end developers, they don't really have a lot of understanding of how to write efficient unit tests. And so we sort of walked through it, and I explained to him that because he feels, of course, a little bit guilty about not being able to really figure out how to do this. And I said, yeah, I understand that, but you should also know that I've been doing this for quite some time now, and I know that this is the case. When we hired you, I was fully aware of I was going to have to teach. I was most likely going to need to teach you how to do this in the way, at the very least, we do it here. I'm not saying that our approach is perfect, but I'm going to need to show you how to do this, because and I told them, like, full disclosure, it's very likely, because we've had other people before him try to do this, and I said we have let them go because their idea of readable, like making their way of solving the problems that we are dealing with, didn't bring us the results we needed. Our standards are higher than what they could achieve, and they weren't really willing to try to listen and adapt and continue their learning. Like, they wanted to do things their way, and that's fine, because, and I told them these people probably got they have gotten other jobs, most likely in other companies, where their idea of what good results are like the standards are probably lower, or their comprehension of what is possible to achieve is, well, their expectations are lower, or so forth and so forth. They see it as an unsolvable problem. But here you're working with people who have an idea of what is possible, and you're basically trying to solve problems at a higher level than what most, especially front-end developers, are going to be used to doing, which means that you are going to need to learn things that you might never need. If you started working at another company, you may never need to know all the different methodologies and the ways that we're going to do things here. But if you go to, say, something super high end, it's very likely that you're going to see the same sort of things, maybe even more advanced methods of working and doing things, right? And he told me that, yeah, that's why he likes working with me and the others that on the project that I'm working on, because he said, this is a way for him to learn to sort of understand how to approach different problems in a different way. And so we work on this sort of stuff. So when I showed him sort of the approach that I would take in his specific situation, he's trying, it's exactly the thing that you're talking about. So he is trying to find, he is at a certain level of skill, and in this specific instance I might be at a higher level of skill, so I can teach him how to approach both the readability and optimizing, so forth and so forth. And then someone else comes along who is even smarter, who's better at this thing than I am, and they go, no, actually, Frederick, there is an even more optimized way, or there's a cleaner way, or there's some better way of doing this, and they teach me. It's literally how all innovation works. You're trying to achieve the thing you're talking about at all times, but it requires learning and experience to learn of better methods of approaching this thing. And it really is that simple. You can't really just say that we should just do both, because people are always trying to do both. It's not a conscious choice to say it should be readable or it should be optimized. Sometimes you have to make a trade-off between the two, but once again, the only reason you're making that trade-off is because you don't know of an even better way of doing it. Because every single person, it's just there's so many people throughout history has always said that if you do A, then B is going to happen, and you can't have A and B at the same time, and so forth and so forth. And sure, sometimes they might be right, but on average it's just a matter of time before someone comes up with a better solution to whatever problem we're dealing with, and we find we solve old problems and invent new problems. It's basically innovation and evolution at work. So what I want you to take away from this is that why we can't have both is very simple. You can't have both readable code and optimized code. Well, you can, because you can have code that is readable and optimized at the same time. It really comes down to you. If you're a super genius, then every single optimization is perfectly clear, because readable code is just code that you comprehend. And heavily optimized code, well, that's always nice, but there's always going to be something that is more optimized, or there might be something that is even faster. Who knows what types of methodologies we're going to figure out how in a few years. It's 50 years ago, the cars or whatever we were manufacturing back in those days, they were at a certain level, they were bleeding edge, and today we have something even better. It's the same thing with our mathematics, our algorithms, etc., etc. Some stuff is definitely it might be as good as we can make them, but it's always moving. Everybody's trying to do this, right? And that's why I tell people that some problems that you are dealing with, or like when things don't turn out so well within, say, coding or so forth and so forth, it's very rarely the case that there is no better way of doing it. It's just that either the people who are dealing with this issue don't have the necessary skills, or like the thing they need in order to make something better than what's happening right now. And that if you do, I suggest that you try to help people. I like to say, I wasn't here when this thing was happening. I don't know who did this, or like what the thinking was. I just assume that, all right, people were doing their best for whatever reason. Now let's just see if I can figure out something better, because I hope that whoever comes along after me, when I showed my coworker how to do things in a more optimized and readable way, that person is going to show me the same sort of understanding, because I'm too dumb to come up with that perfect combination of readability and optimization, because I'm trying to do both all the time. It's just that sometimes I get one a little bit better than the other, and sometimes everything just goes to shit because I'm not smart enough to find a better way of doing it. Have a great day.